spectrum of halachas in the area of machulos that Chazal were geyser to build somewhat of a distance between the Am HaNivchar and their surroundings. Maybe at other opportunities, we will discuss what it means to be a chosen people. What does it incur? It is not only a privilege, but a tremendous achrayus. Up to Mamad Har Sinai, all we had was Sheva Mitzvahs Bnei Noach. And what Sheva Mitzvahs Bnei Noach boils down to is just be a mensch. Be a mensch. Don't be a beast. Don't be an animal. Don't kill. Don't rob. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't commit adultery. Taryag Mitzvahs is everything. Kodesh Baruch Hu demands 24/7, 365 days a week. Not only what you do and what you abstain from doing. What you say and what you abstain from saying. What you think and what you abstain from thinking. What you believe and what you should not believe. That's a huge difference. And we are also expected, as the Navi Yeshayahu says, to be a or lagoyim, a beacon of light to the world, to all the other nations. So we are an Am HaNivchar, we are the chosen people. And Chazal wanted to keep a distance between us and Bnei Sehem. We should stay apart. And Am levoded yishkan v'goyim lo yitzrashev. So starting off, we just bring 4 different halachas, all in the realm of eating and drinking, and all are mishum chasnus. Let's start off with the fundamental Mishnah, Lamed Hey Omed Beis in Masechet Avodah Zarah. Lamed Hey Omed Beis in Masechet Avodah Zarah. Can we have it on the screen? We're actually going to have 3 Gemaras. Lamed Hey Omed Beis, then we'll move on Lamed Vav Omed Beis, and Lamed Aleph Omed Beis. We start off with Lamed Hey Omed Beis. Scroll down. The Mishnah. Ve'ele devorim shel oivdei kechovim asurim ve'ein isuram isurei hanoah. Cholav shechol ve'yoived kechovim ve'ein yisur re'ehu. Pas b'shemen Rabbi ve'beis din yetiru hashemen. Shlokos kvoshim Rashi. Shlokos. It is marked. Rashi doesn't mean the entire Mishnah, but Rashi does mean pas, Bishul. Let's scroll down. Scroll down a bit. V'hapas. V'hapas. Omer of Karim Reb Yochanan, Pas le'otru bebeis din, discussion. Dechi oser of Dima Omar, פעם אחת יוצא רבי לסוד והביא אויבת כחובם לפניו פס פורני. מאפסו, אומר רבי, כמה נועה פס זה, what a beautiful loaf of bread. מה רוח החומם לאוסרו? מה רוח החומם? משום חסנוס. So the Gemara clearly says, Pas Akum is also Mishum Chasmus. If we scroll down another 10 lines, once again. אפילו לא מנדור מפלת לו וככל מהנם לבסוד, אבל בעיר לא משום חסנוס. Rashi, as we saw, says the same regarding Bishul Akum. We turn one page, Lamed Vav Amud Beis. Lamed Vav Amud Beis. One more page. Here we are. Amar Rav Yitzchak goes al pitom mishum shamnon. Ma'ayel mishem in the past. Ero al pitom mishamnon mishum yainon. V'al yainon mishum benoiseyem. Stam yainon. You're not allowed to drink wine from a goy. And the reason is benoiseyem. Benoiseyem and chasnus is the same concept. We will see as we move on. Stam yenim is also banoah. Not only ba'achila, Chazal were machmer b'stam yenim because of yayin nesach, but fundamentally, Gemara meforeshes. Goes to al pitom b'shamno mishum yenon v'yenon mishum benoiseyem. We go back lamed aleph omed beis. And we're dealing with sheikhar. Sheikhar is beer. And there's a machlokes in the Gemara whether sheikhar shel oived kechavim is also or not. Amar Rav Yitzchak. Itmar. Top of the page. Itmar. מפני מה עשו שייכר שלוי ותרחובים, רומא בחומא עומר, רב יצחק, משום חסנוס. So it's a machlokes, chasnus or gilui. So we have four different halachas. Bishul nachrim, pas nachrim, stam yenom, sheichar, mishum chasnus. The fundamental question we will be asking today is, all these isurim, do they have the same details as macholas isuris? Do they ask a kalim? If pas akum is nisarev in a tafshel, or bishul akum falls into a tafshel, do the same halachas of bittul apply? Mi b'she'ena minai, asas benois in tam. A kli shebishloi boy goy. You need to be machsher the kli. Once chachumim aser bishul pas yayin sheichar, do they become just like any other macholas asurais, or would it be a totally different approach and a different definition? Because these actually are not really a cheftze de isura. It's just like a harachacha. Don't do this because you might do that. Don't drink his wine and his beer because you might become two good friends and then tragedy will happen and your son might marry his daughter, or you will intermarry to a goya. So does this become a choras asurais? Or is it a totally different approach? So we go over now to some Seifim in Yoredeya. Kuf Yud Beis Seif Aleph in Yoredeya. This is actually a machlokes that we find in Shulchan Aruch. Kuf Yud Beis Hilchis Macholei Oivdei Kechavim. And this siman deals with pas, with cholav, Seif Aleph, very first Seif, Kuf Yud Beis. I saw it on the screen when I connected. So we just need to go back there. Kuf Yud Beis Yoredeya.
Page 129, Pesach.
Not Beis Yosef, but rather Shulchan Aruch. We could start off with the Beis Yosef, but here we are. Here we are. Then I pass it over the Chovim. Also, Chachomim lechol pasel over the Chovim mishum chasnus. Va'afilu b'mokum deleka mishum chasnus also. So the Shulchan Aruch says it's all about you might marry his daughter. Then Amor says, but even when there is no chashash mishum chasnus, it's still also. Does that Amor mean to indicate there really is no chashash chasnus, but it's still also? And that would prove that Once the Chachamim answered, it becomes like any other Machalas Asuris. And there's no difference between Pas Akum and Pas Shel Tevel, or Boso Nevela, or Pas Shel Kirayim, or any other Machalas Asuris. And even when there is no Chashash Chasnis, becomes also. Pas and the Shach don't seem to offer that interpretation. After b'mokum deleke mishum chasnis, Taz Sivkot Nalach Kigon Shein Lo Bonim. You don't have kids, so what is the chashash? My son would marry his daughter. I'm married, and I don't have any kids at home. So why would it be awesome? Loy plug rabbo. The concept of loy plug is a big sugya. Maybe, who knows, maybe some future time we'll dedicate a sheet to loy plug. When do we say loy plug? And when do we say that the details are everything? That's a sugya b'fnei atzmai. Shach Sivkot Beis on the spot, or Sivkot Dalet. After b'mokum deleis leke mishum chasnis kegon pas koyimim shein lem bonim. Also, the loy mishum bitoi shel moicher oinoisen amru ela mishum b'nois oiv de kerchomim sheim ein leze yesh leze. The source of this halacha is Shuvas Arash b'chelek Aleph Siman Shmem Ches. So when the Taz says Elei Bonim, we can say that the Jew doesn't have sons. The Shach seems to say we're going to buy bread from Goyim that don't have kids, priests, what they call fathers. They don't marry, so they don't have any kids. So the Shach explains that Ashba, it's not about this specific case. When you go to a Goyish baker and you buy bread, a loaf of bread or cake from him, we're afraid your daughter's going to marry his son or his son's going to marry your daughter. No. It's just to distance self from Goyim in general. So it doesn't really depend on the details. It is about building walls and moats between us and them. Because they don't want us to mingle with non-Jews. We do business with them. We respect them. But when Lavan says Yankov, Abon Bonai, so Abon is Benoisai, Yankov senses more to danger. And Yaakov says, no, my dear friend, you're mistaken. Abonim einam benecho. Abonis einam benutech. We need to part. So the Shach explains, it's not about the details in each specific case. It doesn't matter whether the baker has children or not. Im ein lezeh, yesh lezeh. It is a slightly different nuance than the Taz. The Taz says, loy plug. When Chachamim geyser, the geyser across the board. The Shach explains the essence of the Chashash, the essence of the Gezeir is not about your son and his daughter. It's about the Jewish community, Jews in general, staying away from mingling with non-Jews. Minchas Osher Devorim Simen Vav. There's a lengthy Bedek Habayis, which we could either look for in Bedek Habayis. I think it would be just more convenient. Could we have my Siman on the screen? That maybe you have a printout, maybe on the source sheets we have the Minchas Osher Siman Vav. I don't know. So here we are. Page number Lamidalet, which means we need to just go fast forward 5 pages. Page number Lamidalet. Here we are. Starting at the bottom of column number 1. here, stop. Go back up. So let's start off with the Rashba. Oid Teda. We need to scroll up a bit. Oid Teda. Sheba Oisan Sheba Mishnas Ein Ma'amidim. We scroll down. Gzeres Kvois Oyu. Yainon Bishloko Ishalem Begivino. After Bishabot Latam, Gzere Loi Botla. Shayain after Pishaim and Astana Shabos Afilo Bano. Betinagois Yanes after Pishain Yode Betirwitz Rom. Begivin after Pishaim Amid Boker, Eleva Prochem, Vechekulon. So the Rashba in this paragraph doesn't deal with Benoy Sayim. But he says everything in both Mishnayos, the Mishnah Lamedei and the Mishnah Chovtes, Gzeres Kvois. And these Isurim no longer depend on the reasoning. However, there are has a different opinion. And we scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here we are. Be'isurim elu. So let me tell you the story of the fascinating relationship between the Rashba and the Ra'ah. The Rashba built a magnificent house, which is called Teres Weiss. Teres Weiss is the sefer of the Rashba and Issa Beheter. Most of your day is in Teres Weiss. Comes along the Ra'ah, and he writes very harsh asugas against the Rashba, and he calls his sefer Bedek Weiss. Bedek Weiss means checking out your house and finding many flaws in the way you built your house. The Rashba responds, and that is number 3, Mishmeres Weiss, insisting that my house was soundly built, and I stand behind every word that I wrote. So let's learn that all. לא ישבו בהם מדויסיהם כשאר איסורים של דבריהם, כגון שמנו של גיד וכחל, אלא כאן, לפי מה שראו אסרו, ואומם החמירו ופעומם הקלו. So the Ra'ah clearly says, contrary to what the Rashba says, and these isurim that are mishum chasnis, it all depends on the details. It's not across the board. Sometimes chom or machmas, sometimes Michael, and he gives examples. Shalayenon vepiton v'sheichur shalahem. We scroll up to the top of the page. V'shlokos kulam edvrei mishim b'noiseihem. V'osu yainu af magom b'yain shelanu. Afilo b'anoah. V'samchu devreihem mishal Torah lasos et yain esach lefi shebora u'ilachmi lefi shekoy b'mitzvah tekalos yotem min hakol. Why were chachomim Machmir beyayin, yayin is also banoah. Pasakum, Bishul, Akum, Sheikhar are only also b'shtir. Because alcohol is more dangerous. If you're going to get drunk, then you're on the brink. So easy to be nirshal. And we see this to our dismay constantly. And some b'nai will get intoxicated, and it's over. So the Ra'ah says, Stam Yeinum, just like Pas and Bishul, Amishim Benoiseyem. Bayayin, Chomor Mor Machmir, because the risk is far greater. V'yafar b'ken etiru b'mevushal shalom lefi she'ein shtiyosei tadira ve'ikru le'refuah. Yayin mevushal, they will make it. Why? Because people usually don't drink yayin mevushal. They only use it for medical purposes. פתאום התירו מן הפלטה. שהוא לסדין אפילו בסודמות, ובשייך התירו חוץ לביסו. הרי שיש מוקם שהוא עושה ומוקם שהוא מותר. בשלו כויס התירו כל שאין אנוכי מסחר ולמשל. So he brings many details, and then I underline this section. ואף אני אומר שהנוכרי שבו לבשל לחוילו, ובשבס בזמן העושה לנו לבשל, שלא יעשו משבשיר הנוכם כלל, ולא ישייך אוכי משום חסנוס. Because this is a very uncommon situation. He's cooking in our house for a chayla, so the chashash chasnus is extremely remote. It's not reasonable. And that is why there is no Bishul Akum. עוד אני בולודן מזה הטעם, שלא יהיה שבוך החומר מדסם בין יסב ולא יוסר בו, אלא לפי מה שירא שימושר בו, טעם של חסנוס. So that all clearly argues, these asurim are different than all the others. It all depends on the details and the circumstances. Now we go over to Yoredesim and Kuf Yud Gimel, Tet Zayin. Amachlokes Shulchan Aruch and Rambam. Kuf Yud Gimel Tet Zayin, or if you wish, we could just, here we are. Kuf Yud Gimel, Sif Tet Zayin. כלם שבישול בהם הוא אויבת כרחובים מלפנינו דבורים שיש בהם משום בישולי עכו"ם צריכים הכשר ויש אומרים שאין צריכים ואף לדברי המצריכים הכשר אם הוא כלי חרס מגיע לו שולש בעומם ודיו מפני שאין לאיסור זה עיקר בדיורייס. So this halacha, also the sources in the Rashba, the Ramah writes, "Oived kechovim shebishul achoyle b'Shabbos muter lamoitz Shabbos afil labori ve'ein bo mishum bishul oived kechovim." And whom does he quote? Beis Yosef b'Shem Ran sheken kosev b'Shem Hara'ah, and that is the Bedek Abayis we saw a few minutes ago. So when a guy cooks in our home, let's say that cholesh yesh b'sakana, there's no real reason or svara to be choishish b'chasmus. So the chumrah, the Torah brings Rashba Toras Abayis that we need hechsher kalem. And that is the Rashba. And the tool brings the Rash that says you don't need extra kalim. And that is the opinion of the Ra'ah. Because the entire Isser is just, we don't want Jews going into Goyish homes. We don't want Goyim to Jewish homes. We don't want them to spend time together in the restaurant. That will bring to too much kirubadas. But kalim, no reason to ask a kalim, extra kalim. So this machlokes depends on the fundamental approach. Do these asurim become macholas asuris, and they have the same din as any other macholas asuris? Or would we say, no, it has nothing to do with macholas asuris? And it all depends. Is there a chash chasnes or not? So in Minchas Osha, if we go back to the Minchas Osha, and I would suggest we should go back to Siman Vav and Minchas Osha, Se'iv Gimel. We scroll down, next page, Lamed Hey. Moment Lamed Hey, mamish at the bottom of the page. Here we are. Sveikas halocha l'maisa. So microwave ovens. כתבתי לאוכל בשעת הדחק, ולאסרו ערב בנספשל באש. והבאתי את מה שכתבו כמה אחרינו. So where is the source that the Isra Bishul Akum is only ma shenisbashel be'esh? Going back to Siman Kuf Yud Gimel. Kuf Yud Gimel, Sif Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel. Here we are. Dar shemalchai oived kirchavim, beperes sheishnon, ad shechshiron l'achila. Einoi koroteach b'gzera zu, v'amushan einoi kimevushal. So in Issa v'Hetu we have a klal. Maluach areu kiroteach. Mu'ushan areu kimebushal. When we salt meat, salt is mavliya and mafrit. Smoking meat is like cooking meat, but not regarding Bishul Akum. And the Ramah says, Gam kovish ene kemevushal. Deloi osro elo bishul shel eish. That is the lashon of the tool. Microwave ovens, there is no eish. Probably all of you know, but let me explain nevertheless. What is unique about microwave technology? If you put a glass into a microwave oven and you put on the oven for 15 minutes, the glass will be as cold as it was when you put it in. Wouldn't be affected at all. Same regarding the plate. In a microwave oven, different than any other baking or cooking device, there is no source of heat. Microwaves are electromagnetic waves, and they cause a molecular reaction in organic material. Only organic material. Organic material is menachai or hatzomeach. Plants, animals. Those are what we call organic materials. Organic materials have fluids, and these electromagnetic waves heat fluid, and therefore they affect only organic material. When you put a chunt into a microwave oven, the plate will become hot. But the only reason the plate becomes hot is because the chunt is hot. And the chunt will warm the plate. Because in microwave technology, there is no source of heat. If you put your hand into a microwave oven and you turn on the oven, which is impossible because if the door isn't closed, then it wouldn't work. Your hand will cook because we are organic material. So would there be an issur of Bishul Akum in a microwave oven? There is no eish. And Mu'ushan, Kavush, Maluach are not also by Bishul Akum. Regarding issur v'heter, Kavush kimavushal, Maluach kiroiteach, Mu'ushan kimavushal, not regarding Bishul Akum. Loi Osro ela eish. Microwave, there is no eish. So Mincha Social I brought that Rabbi Yoshiv and Rav Osman both say, but because this technology is so common today, that is derech Bishul. And therefore, there would be an issur of Bishul Akum using microwave ovens. And I think that b'shas adchak yesh lahokel. So in the previous sources, or what we see in Shulchan Aruch, lo yaso ela bishul shleish is a kula. The sources we saw before, there is no issur by chodesh yesh v'sekona because no chashash chasnas. Bli yesh v'kelim mutar. No chashash chasnas. What is our psak the other way around? Chachamim lo yasu, but there is a chashash chasnas. Would we be machmir based on the ra'ah? In most cases, the ra'ah is a kula, and the ra'ah says this issur is totally dependent on the details. The reasonability that there would be a chashash chasnas. So the ra'ah deals with kulas. Kalim aren't also. Isn't also. Our question now is the other way around. microwave, no fire. So it would be similar to kovish, maluach, mu'ushad. Chacham lo yaseh lebishul shalish. But both Rav Osman and Shevet HaLevi and Rav Elyashiv, Shevet HaLevi, Chelek Chesem and Kuf Pehein, Chelek Tes Kuf Samech Peis, two different Shuvas. Rav Darzi, in his Sefer, Shvus Yitzchak, quotes Rav Elyashiv. But this is Derech Bishul. And I say that if we rely on Derech Bishas Adcha, then doesn't depend on chasnas. What Chazal didn't answer, they didn't answer. And this is a very common question because in our generation, more than ever before, we have more elderly people, many of them suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. And there are thousands upon thousands of caregivers in Israel, so many Filipinos, Indian women and girls taking care of the elderly. And sometimes they prepare food for elderly of our brethren, Eden, men, women. And they use microwave ovens. And not always is it practical for the children to cook, to prepare the food. Is there room for leniency if a non-Jew cooks in a microwave oven? And I say yes. If we are Michael Kishitas, Ikar Alochi Kishitas Rashba, doesn't depend on chasnas. The Rashba says, we need Achshoras Kelim. Even though everybody agrees, there is no chashash chasnas. And the first opinion, the Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Yud Gimel, as we saw before, Kuf Yud Gimel Tezayin, it's on our page right now. Look at the screen. Kelim shebishul ve'amoy v'tichom lefanenu dvorim sheyesh b'hem mishalachim tzichem hechsher. That's the Rashba. It does not depend on chasnas. It's like any other macholas asuras. However, if it is clear, Chachomim loy asro ela bishul shel eish, microwave oven is not bishul shel eish. According to Rav, it should be mutar. I also argue, contrary to what other Gedolim said, I think microwaves are used primarily for warming up food that was previously cooked. It's not the same quality. It's not the same taste. And that is for a simple reason. When you cook or bake from an external source of heat, the bread is crispy from the outside and it's soft in the inside. The same with meat. And that makes the food more appealing. Because in microwave technology, there is no external source of heat. And the warmth comes from within. It is a molecular reaction, and the organic material is heated up, and therefore the outer layer and the inner layer are exactly the same. And there will be no crispness on the outer level. I think most people don't use microwave ovens to cook, but primarily to warm up food. You're not going to use a microwave oven if you want to invite guests for a beautiful and fancy Suda. So my argument with Rav Osman and Rav Elyashiv is twofold. If Chazal weren't Geyser Elo Bishul Shel Eish, that's Bishul Shel Eish. And even if you assume, but this is very common today, so there's a chasnas, doesn't depend on chasnas. It depends on Mashal. And these principles go both ways, Lakula and Lakula. I also argue that it is very unreasonable to be Chayshish Chasnis because it is not really Derech Bishul. The other point in which I have an argument with many others is Yayin mevushal. So yayin mevushal, we saw in the Ra'ah, going back to the Ra'ah, Chazal didn't answer. Because in their days, yayin mevushal was used primarily for refuah. And the poskim say, why wouldn't there be an Isser Bishul by yayin, Isser Stam Yainam, yayin shel goy, by yayin mevushal? That is because it's not really ra'ui l'shtia. So, going back to Michasosha page Lamed Vav, here we are. Scroll down. וגם בעניין סתם ייnom נחלקו גדולי הזמן לגבי יין מפוסטר, pasteurized wine, האם יש לו אוכל בו משום דברי הרמב"ם, דאין ישנו ביין מבושל. So let's learn the Rambam. אין מסנסח לגוי אלא יין שראוי להקרב אדם במזבח, מפני זה כשגזו על סתם ייnom וגזו על כל יין שיהיה גבוי שיהיה עושה בנור, לא יגזו אלא יין הראוי לסנסח. לפיכך יין מבששי סול של נוער והגוי, אין יוסו מותר לשתסמקה בכל ספר. אבל יין מוזג, אסור. So Rambam writes, סתם יין is only יין הראוי לגבי מזבח. But the Rush has a different approach. We scroll down on the page. Now, Hiksha Rush, הלא יוסו סתם יין המשם בנויסיה. מה בין מבושל ליין שאינה מבושל? What does it have to do with the Mizbeach? It's all about B'nai Seir. Because of the Efshar, the Kiven, the Yayin, Mevushal, Lo Yehoyo, Shachiach Bizmaneim, Milsedu Lashchicha Legos Erbon, V'oid Kosev Arashma B'Torah Sabayis B'Shem Ramban, V'otir Yayin Mevushal Elam Shem Shenashtana Tamoy B'Reichon. It's not really good wine. So you wouldn't use yain mevushal when you invite guests over to your house. But because they knock it more on a grishel yashav lahachmi biyain mefusta mishum shein bo yekar ve'en bo begam shechiach tuva. So the Rosh says not shechiach. Well, pasteurized wine, most of the wine in the market is pasteurized. Only the very expensive wine are not pasteurized. And it also is quite good, quite appealing, quite tasty. The came ben divrei Rosh, ben lefi divrei Ramban, ein lo kol b'yam mefustar. Pshut Yabia Omer, erech lachla kol ha'benoket la'ok. ובאמס, שתי שיטות אלה לא נסקבלו להלוכה. זה לא יש לכם אורך, scroll down. אורך והלוכה זו בעקבס הרמב"ם, דאין ביין מבושל מוסקים שאינו מנסח. And this brings us to a fundamental question we might discuss next week's shiur, but I won't be around next week. I mentioned before, Chazal asked Stam Yain Mishum B'Nisei, but they also compare it to Yain Nesach. In Yain Nesach, it depends Nesnasach al Gabe HaMizbeach. So the Taz says, "En lo chiki ke divrei Rosh." גם דברי הרמב"ן לא נפסקו בשולחן אורח, אלא שתסרש ברן דקול שטיח אגבי שמותר, והם בו ישראל. So in my opinion, there is room להוקל by pasteurized wine. It's not oil al gabi המזבח, and both the Ramban and the Rosh are not quoting the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch follows the Rambam. So these two questions are somewhat dependent how we define B'nai Seir. Microwave ovens, pasteurized wine. If we stick to the rules, to the word of the Shulchan Aruch, we should be making. Pasteurized wine is mavushal, is heated. It's not b'chalal d'geseir. Microwave ovens, not Bechal Gzeira, not Bishul Shalesh. But the argument of Rabbi Yosef is the same in both shaylas. In today's day and age, it is common, it's shachiach, it's appealing. So the Chashash ben Esayim would be relevant, would be a reasonable Chashash. Or maybe we say, Ein lanu elo ma she'asu chacham. So it's hard for me to see a Shas Chak regarding pasteurized wine. But there definitely is a huge Shas Chak regarding using it in microwave. So our fundamental discussion today was the entire spectrum of Ben Isayim, which is Pas Akum, Stam Yenam, Sheikhar, Bishul Akum. We'll see in our coming Shiur, Machlokes, what's the reason of Bishul Akum. But the Rambam and Rashi maintain Ben Isayim, just like Pas Akum and others. Cholav Akum is not about Ben Isayim. Cholav Akum is just a chashash that he will mix in Cholav Tomei. Cholav Akum stands apart. But in the entire spectrum of Ben Isayim, the fundamental question is, does it transform into Machalas Asuris and has the same fundamental meaning as any other Machalas Asuris? And that regards Hechsher Kalim, you need to be Machsher Kli, two opinions in the Shulchan Aruch, the Rashba and the Ra'ah. And then present day questions, microwave ovens, pasteurized wine, according to the basic halachas. Bishul Nochi should not apply, Stam Yenam should not apply. However, Rabbi Yosef and both halachas argues it's common, it's appealing, it is broadly used, and therefore we should ask it because of Ben Isayim. And I say B'shas Adchak doesn't depend on the specific details and circumstances. It doesn't depend on the right here and now. It depends Ma Asar Chachamim v'ma Hotziu Machlal Hatzayim. So I think this is a very important brief introduction to the entire spectrum of Macholei Goyim. So I apologize. I would very much like to be on board next week, but I don't think it'll work out.